What's up, everybody? We got an awesome football game this Sunday, NFL, between the 49ers and the Jaguars. And I have a 6-player prop entry for this game for you guys to hammer on PrizePicks. And I'll give you a little bit of a hint about the plays that we have. We're taking both quarterbacks, and we're taking both of them to go over their passing yards prop. It's going to be an awesome game between two awesome teams. Why not root for the quarterbacks to pass for a bunch of yards? I found this entry using the Daily Grind Fantasy Correlation tool. It's an amazing tool, really helpful if you're playing these DFS books like a PrizePicks, like an Underdog Fantasy. The way the tool works, I'm going to explain it a little bit before we get into my 6-leg entry. The way the tool works is it combines player props in one entry on these different DFS platforms. Obviously, it's specific to one book, but you can play on multiple different entries. And it gives you player props that have some sort of correlation with each other. So I mentioned we're taking both quarterbacks to go over their passing yards prop. Well, if the quarterbacks are passing for a lot of yards, somebody has to receive them, right? Somebody's got to receive those passing yards. So it means that it's more likely than not that the receivers of those quarterbacks also go over their passing yards prop. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you should blindly take every single receiver's over, but it does mean that if you look at each individual receiver, they're more likely than not to go over if the quarterback also goes over. And what Daily Grind Fantasy does is they combine these types of different player props that do have a correlation together into one individual entry. In this case, again, it's a 6-pick flex on PrizePicks. Now, there are a ton of advantages to playing these on PrizePicks versus FanDuel or DraftKings. Number one, they post player props earlier than any other platform. So I'm recording this on Wednesday. This game is being played on Sunday. FanDuel doesn't even have player props up yet for this game. So what I wanted to do was show you just how much of a better payout you're getting by taking this on PrizePicks versus FanDuel, but they don't even have player props up yet. Another advantage to using it on PrizePicks. But talk about the cost and the pricing and everything. So PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, all these different DFS books, they give you the same payout no matter what player props you add, right? A correlated slip, you're still 25xing your money on PrizePicks. You take an over or an under or whatever it may be, the payout is always going to be the exact same. That is not the case on these actual sports books. Like if I just go to Thursday Night Football, and I take a correlated slip. So I'm going to take, looks like Bryce Young is the only quarterback they have odds for. I'm taking his over, and I'm taking Adam Thielen's over. Look at the same game parlay. It's plus 156 odds. Now, a 2-leg parlay on PrizePicks has the implied odds of plus 200. So just magnify that by 4 more picks, and the payout is wildly different. So just because these are profitable on PrizePicks does not mean that they are profitable on the actual sports books, and it's all because of that payout. When you're taking a correlated player prop same game parlay on the actual sports books, they reduce the payout a little bit, taking into account the fact that there is a positive correlation. The DFS books don't do that. So that's how the correlation tool works and why it's good to place them on PrizePicks and not the actual sports books. Now let's chat about the performance, which speaks for itself. So DGF calculated every single, or tracked, I should say, every single slip that shows up on the correlation tool since August 18th. Since that date, if you had taken every single slip and put 1 unit on them, you would be up 579 units. Now that is just below 3 months of betting, up 579 units, an ROI of 35.65%. That is absurd. The best sports bettors in the world don't get an ROI of even like 5%. So getting it at 35%, an ROI is insane. And just look at the graph, right? The graph speaks for itself. And it's a perfect summary, this graph is, of what sports betting is like. It's what it should be like, I guess I should say. It's up and to the right. That's good. But there are some downswings, and that'll happen. You're going to have some down time. You're going to have some negative variance when you're playing 5-leg, 6-leg parlays. But overall, the results speak for themselves. So let's just think about it. Whatever your unit size is, and we don't unit shame, it could be $1, it could be $1,000. Let's call it $10. If you have a $10 unit size and you played every single slip on the correlation tool, you would be up just under 6K in under 3 months of betting. That on a $10 unit size. If you have a $100 unit size, you're up like 60 grand from using the correlation tool. Now I have it filtered specifically for the 49ers and Jags game. When I'm done giving you the slip, I'll reset the filters and I'll show you how many slips there are available to be hammered. So I cannot recommend enough signing up for the Daily Grind Fantasy correlation tool. At least do a free trial. Give yourself a week to hammer these slips and understand how profitable it can be. Link is in the description of the video. But we can get to the slip. So I mentioned we're taking both quarterbacks to go over their passing yards, right? Trevor Lawrence over 248.5 passing yards. Brock Purdy over 241.5 passing yards. And as I mentioned, if the quarterbacks are going over their passing yards prop, that means it's more likely than not that some of the receivers are going to go over their receiving yards prop. Evan Ingram over 45.5 receiving yards. Calvin Ridley over 53.5 receiving yards. It's so low considering how well he started at the beginning of the year. And then we're taking Brock Purdy over 49.5 receiving yards, and we're taking Brandon Ayuk over 66.5 receiving yards. This is our 6-pick slip for this game. 3 picks on each side, so nice 50-50 split there. I love a good symmetry. And now I want to talk real quick about the profit margin and the correlation score, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what everything means. So the correlation score, if you're on the actual tool, you can click this icon here and it'll tell you. Basically, the nerdy math version is the number you see here, the 88.08. That is calculated by looking at the correlation coefficient between each leg. All it's really calculating is on a scale of 1 to 100, exactly how correlated are these player props together. The higher the better. 88.08 is quite good. Now the profit margin, it's giving you exactly what is your percent EV, what is your expected profit from this slip. It takes into account adding up each individual EV of the individual legs. So what's the Trevor Lawrence EV? Add that to what's the Evan Ingram positive expected value. It adds up all 6 of these. And then it also takes into account the correlation score. So the higher the correlation, the higher the profit margin. So all of these are connected. So for this individual slip, a profit margin of 213%, which is quite good. Now, another question that you might have is, why am I playing a 6-pick flex? On PrizePicks, 5 and 6 picks is the best bang for your buck in terms of positive expected value. And I can actually explain that. So what I'm going to do is go to the DFS optimizer. This is another way to find player props. It's just a different tool. Everything's good, multiple ways to skin a cat. But if you click this drop down here that says plus EV plays, it gives you each individual option, each possible option you can play on PrizePicks. 2-pick power, 3-pick flex. And then it gives you the implied odds of each leg for each option. Minus 136, minus 144, minus 140. None of those odds are that great. Well, minus 119 for 5 and 6 picks, that is pretty good. And that is the best bang for your buck. That's why playing 5 and 6 pick flexes on PrizePicks is the way to go. And it'll tell you. So you don't need to actually know that information. I just like explaining it. So I'll go through the entry real quick one last time. Trevor Lawrence over 248.5 passing yards. Evan Ingram over 245.5 receiving yards. Calvin Ridley over 53.5 receiving yards. Brock Purdy over 241.5 passing yards. Deebo Samuel over 249.5 receiving yards. Brandon Ayuk over 66.5 receiving yards. 6 picks. All of them have a positive correlation together for this 49ers versus Jags game. And now, as I promised, I'll reset the filters, and just to show you how many slips there are available, right? We got NFL, we got college football. We even have some esports action. We'll have NBA slips when they show up here. But look how many slips there are here, all the way up to 100%, or all the way down to 100% profit margin. And it tells you what you should put on all these slips. 6 picks non-insured, 4 picks non-insured, 6-pick flex, and then 5 picks non-insured. So it doesn't just give you the same exact option. We see 5 picks for underdog. We see 4 picks for underdog. It just depends on the availability. So again, I cannot recommend it enough. Go check out the Daily Grind Fantasy correlation tool. It's really, really profitable. 570 units, 580 units basically in less than 3 months. The results speak for themselves. And that's all I got. So make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. All that stuff helps us out a ton. You can find me on basically every social media at Jedi Modi. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and have a good one.